Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, Chairman Powell, for your testimony today. I'd like to talk about real estate. Back in Arizona, we're seeing the economy is starting to recover somewhat, but there is concern for businesses in every sector with revenues down, rents not being paid, then mortgages not being paid. And this really crosses many sectors. And in the 2008 crisis, Arizona really was hurt deeply in this area, and I'm very concerned and monitoring what's happening in this sector. So since real estate pretty much, goes across many industries, you mentioned you were monitoring this, but you're not as concerned as before. Could you elaborate on that? And is there any discussion or consideration about a real estate focused facility in order to be able to help out in this area?
So I would say that like other companies, real estate related companies are eligible to take part in our facilities. I'd also point to the fact that commercial mortgage-backed securities are eligible assets for the term asset loan facility. So we open up these facilities to companies and any company from any industry that meets the financial requirements of the facility and is otherwise eligible can take part. We don't target facilities toward individual industries so much.
Okay, but you mentioned earlier, I think in response to Senator Rounds, that you were kind of monitoring this element of the economy, and you had some concerns a few months ago, but less concerns now. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I was talking about residential mortgages there. So there's
okay.
The mortgage servicers, when forbearance happened in the CARES Act, and the mortgage servicers were looking at very large liquidity requirements, and the question was, are they going to be able to address that problem? And so steps were taken by the housing regulators, and then there was a heavy wave of refinancing with lower mortgage rates. So those concerns that we had a couple of months ago have sort of been alleviated a little bit. I would say, we're still monitoring the situation carefully, but that's very much about residential mortgage-backed securities.
Okay, great.
Residential.
Thanks for that clarification. To follow up on what Senator Tillis touched on at the very end, in Arizona, the travel, the lodging, tourism, all that has been really hit hard from this, and really concerned about their slow recovery. So what are you seeing in this sector and unemployment and consumer spending? And is there anything within your agency's authority to help this, or are you going to go back to just the overall facilities or anything? This is a very specific sector that's been hit hard, the lack of tourism and travel.
Yeah, very, very hard. It's airlines, any kind of travel, it's hotels. Obviously, it's any business that depends on getting people together in tight groups and either feeding them or flying them around or putting them in rooms and things like that. All of those companies, bars, restaurants too, retail too, they're all really feeling this, and there's just no question about it. And that's, by the way, that's where a lot of the layoffs are in those service industry companies. And so, what we've done is we've created these facilities, and they look back to the financial performance of the potential borrower before the pandemic. So if you were in reasonable financial shape before the pandemic, then in principle, you can be an eligible borrower. We're not going to look at what happened to you because of the pandemic. And that's really the way we've approached that.
Great, thanks. Okay, on a different note, on page 6 of the Federal Reserve's Monetary Policy Report, there's a graph that shows unemployment rates among several demographics. So it includes African American, Hispanic, white, Asian. We have 22 Native American tribes in Arizona that have been, in many cases, very hard hit by the pandemic. It's about 300,000 individuals. It's a pretty significant percent of Arizona. Is your agency tracking any data specifically on Native Americans? And if so, what are you finding? And if not, will you commit to helping with this important community that needs help right now as well?
So we do keep very good track of all that. In particular, the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis has a real specialty in that area, and we'll be happy to work with you on that. It's something I don't have the numbers on the tip of my tongue, but it's very much a focus for us.
Okay, great, thank you. And just to wrap up, Chairman Powell, what's your level of optimism? Arizonans are struggling. They're getting back to work safely. We're still having to manage this pandemic. What's your level of optimism of the recovery going forward?
I would just say long run, don't sell the U.S. economy short. Long run, I am confident that we will have a full recovery. I'm confident of that. I think that the fact is we've had the largest economic shock in living memory, and the economy is going to recover from that. But we just have to be a little patient with it. It's, you'll see people moving back. I think over coming months, a lot of people will come back to work, but there will be a number of people significant number of people who don't go back to work because they're in those industries that we talked about. And that's where there will be less employment. So those people are going to need help going forward to get back to work. But over time, we'll get back. And I just think it's, as most forecasters believe, it's going to take some time to get all the way back to where we were. Will we get there? Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.